you know, in administration, and even following up in the community. It does. You lead by example, and people watch. Your last several board meetings, and I don't know what they were like, you know, before. I don't know a lot of history there, but I do know that people have commented, boy, they got a lot done. Or, gee, they're listening to each other. You know, there seems to be more consensus. So whatever you're doing is different than what was happening before. So you're already making an impression to the public about how you're conducting business. What the purpose of this item on our agenda was, can we codify that? Can we capture, so we have a plan on this particular issue of how you're going to operate as a board. And if you come to a consensus on that, then, and I'll put this in the minutes, and you know, you agree that, well, no, this is how, then if someone steps out of bounds, you know, what a stupid idea that is, you know, so, whoa, wait a minute, that's not the norms that we established and how we're going to operate, and everyone goes, yeah. Same thing in a classroom, right? The teacher should say, what are the rules that we're going to operate by? And they have all the kids buy into getting those rules. And then if someone breaks the rules, they know, and all their classmates are like, we agree, we're not going to do that. So it's pretty similar to that. So before I drift too much further,
Getting information.
at our list.
Getting information. This was an issue for us, how we operated. If a board member wants information from an administrative person, what is the chain of command for that? Can we just call you and say, gee, Alan, I'd like to know if you can send me over blah, 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 you know, Form 72B. Or do we have to go through Rich, ask Rich to get Form 72B from you?
I'm not that structured. I would say one of my practices, if you ask me for something, I'm going to give it to everybody. Because I think it's important. If one person has the information, and it was important enough that one person has it, everyone should have the information. The only exception is the chair, because the chair might be trying to make a decision, and I may share with him, you know, here's what I have, and he says, you know, if this needs to be a board item, let's get this all together and get it out to the members. So usually the chair sort of, that's why you have that police. That's what the chair does in terms of facilitating items, because otherwise your agenda is going to be out of control. If you function from a high level, your agenda items will be very focused, and you'll get through, you'll feel that you've had a successful meeting because you'll accomplish the things you have to do. If you start putting detail that you hired administrators to do, like myself and the principals, then you're going to get bogged down and you're going to be discouraged as you leave meetings, feeling like we didn't really get to the important stuff for the board. How did you just capture the, how are you going to list what you just said? All information shared, or
yeah, like that.
How does the rest of you
Information
feel
sharing.
about it? Do you, you know,
Yeah.
are you comfortable with us each asking for information separately, or are you comfortable with asking Rich to get it for us? I mean, if we're setting our norms.
I mean, if Rich is available 24/7,
Which I'm not.
I can call him anytime, then that'd be fine, but, you know.
Yeah, I think that's too burdensome.
I kind of like that in a way,
If
though.
Rich doesn't have the information, probably,
Yep.
you might as well go to the person who has it, or who can get.
I'm thinking about, the example that I'm thinking about is way back when I first came on the board. I had asked the business administrator if she could give me a cost per thousand of each $100,000 of the budget. So example, if we had $1 million, you know, how much per thousand was that going to raise people's taxes? You know, the figure.
And I would say,
I had assumed that she had that figure,
Right.
because I thought it was kind of a set figure, okay? And I was roundly told, that's not how we do business here, you need to go through
well, in
the
that
chair.
example, that might just be a bad example. I would have said, what we can't have is every board member asking for pieces of information that is going to generate a lot of additional work and pull people away from what they're supposed to be doing.
And
If
I
you were
think
to-
that was what was said back to me was, that, I just assumed it was a piece of information that was on file somewhere. I
So you
didn't-
might wanna ask, if there are questions like that, you might wanna start with, do you have a breakdown of per thousand, da-da-da? If the answer is no, then say, okay, what do you have? Okay, so, because you were trying to accomplish something in your mind,
Yes.
but, we might have had another document that might have helped you along, and you could have done a little work with that, but it's not realistic if 5 people now become, the supervisors of SAU 34, we're not gonna get anything done. So, let's talk about that a little later, but I would say, when possible, channel it through Rich.
Okay.
I think that'd be, so if you get a message on your machine and the next day you get it, I mean, if something is that critical that you need it right away, then we'll probably have an emergency meeting,
Well, no, but, we're responsible to the citizens, to the
Mhm.
taxpayers, and they're frequently calling, how much do we spend on that? So, check with somebody, Ernie or somebody.
Yeah,
But,
I would just call the person and ask.
Right.
I mean, as I said, I'm pretty open. How much should we spend on such and such? You know that the business person has that, call the business person, ask that question.
I was just gonna say,
If it's just if it's a simple thing like that, but if it's a question that generates a lot of, and I'll tell the staff, if you can't get that information right away, make sure you say, I'll get back to you, and then try to do that in a reasonable time.
Tell us that it's it's my work to get it, I mean,
Any other group norms, because I don't want to get too far, we gotta move off
I
this.
think that's important for
Yeah.
the meetings, and when I got on the board, we weren't doing this, but we changed quickly, is when we have public comment 2 different times, the public makes comments, they ask questions, you never, ever, and I've been guilty of this, you never respond at a meeting, never, because that generates a second question, other people chime in, and you will be there till midnight on one simple item about lunch in the.
So public comment is to listen.
You never respond to the public comment.
But it's not about the not responding,
And-
it's a listening
Yeah,
opportunity.
but you don't engage in it.
It's not an interactive opportunity.
right.
And I'm assuming that in listening, it's staying with you and you're gonna think about either a future meeting or some other discussion or something.
Somebody
As
will give
part
a
of the
call
board.
order.
Right, I think that's a wise policy. It's a meeting in public. It's not a public meeting. And you have public meetings, those are forums.
Like this,
That was
public.
we moved from a meeting in public
Right.
to a public meeting in terms of that part of the agenda, which, by the way, thank you, because you guys did a really good job on orchestrating
It
how
would be
that
good on the agenda with public comments if we just said for the board, this is a listening opportunity and and please don't expect the board to respond directly.
say that to the public.
Right.
Or something along those.
So maybe Rich says, now we're at public comment, this is the opportunity for the public to, to share any thoughts that they have. The committee will not be responding. So in other words, the expectation is right there.
Right.
Right.
And who can pass out the pieces of duct tape to put over my nose?
You can sit next to
the
me.
roll, Marty.
You can kick me.
We
If I
can
could kick
do
you.
this.
Anything else on norms, just kind of